Justices, Supreme Court, honor, your honors. This is what we give. This is what we call the people of the Supreme Court, who are nothing more than thugs in black robes, tyrants, dressed up in a facade of justice, of wisdom, of respect. They're no more thuggish. They are no more lawless than the rioters, than the warlord in Chaz. They are just as lawless. And I don't know how we can hold people accountable in the streets of Washington to obey the law when the Supreme Court, the honorable, the justices, the wisest among us, can't even do the same. We are seeing lawlessness on a spectrum from the least to the greatest, from the common to the elite. Listen to these attributes in the Bible and do not tell me that every single one of these fit our culture today in America. They're filled with all manners of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They're full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, maliciousness. They're gossips, slanders, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they know God's righteous decrees that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them, but give approval to those who practice them. These are the people that says in Romans 1:24 that God has given them up to the lusts of their heart, dishonoring their bodies among themselves because they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator. And for this reason, God gave them to dishonorable passions, going on to describe homosexual relations. It is no coincidence. It is not disconnected that we are seeing lawlessness on the streets and lawlessness in our courts, because we as a country have rejected the Creator and decided to worship the creation. We have been teaching, we've been preaching, we've been discipling people to worship creation instead of the Creator. Professing to be wise, they've become fools. The logic that I heard in the Supreme Court ruling today that allows gay workers to be protected from discrimination in the LGBT is a big one for the LGBT. I was reading the headline. The ruling today that's protecting the alphabet from discrimination is one of the most foolish rationales, the most ignorant, stupid arguments I've ever seen come out from any court, any intellectual human. I was reading some stupid arguments today, some logic that was just irrational, illogical. It wasn't sound whatsoever. And that the Supreme Court argued in their hypothetical decision on how they're justifying legislating on their own, dictating what is moral and what is not, is what you see on Facebook from uneducated morons. These black robe tyrants are fools. And now every single Christian business is threatened from lawsuits. Even if you do not discriminate based on someone's immoral actions of the alphabet, even when they are acting like the thing that God uses as a symbol to give up a society, even when we hold people accountable to be people of character, to uphold standards, even if you don't fire someone for that and they just happen to be part of that alphabet group, you are now in danger of a discrimination lawsuit. If you don't hire somebody who is part of this alphabet, even if it isn't because of that reason, you're now in danger of a lawsuit and discrimination. That is where we are at today. And it's much worse using the logic and reasoning of the Supreme Court, to do this. I had to take a sip of my tea. Now, you may be saying, I thought the Supreme Court was turning conservative. I thought that Donald Trump was electing conservatives that were on our side. Well, you'll never guess the ruling decision. 6-3. There's supposed to be more than 3 conservatives, that is, people conserving law, conserving the foundational principles of our country, our biblical standards that we were founded on. There was supposed to be more than 4. Oh, Neil Gorsuch betrayed us and became a fool and cited in Title VII, Congress adopted broad language making it illegal for an employer to rely on the employee's sex within deciding to fire that employee. What is he talking about here? He is saying that discriminating, saying you don't want to hire women or you don't want to hire men, it's the same thing to say, I don't want to hire somebody who has sex with men who is a man. I don't want to hire someone who has sex with women that is a woman. Not that you're discriminating against their sex, that is male or female, but it's the same thing as discriminating against your morality and how you behave towards the people of your same sex. This is the first time that a action is protected under discrimination laws. Now, discrimination has a negative connotation to it. Has a very negative connotation to it. But we discriminate every single day. It is part of what makes one wise. When you are discriminating against certain things and not others. That is why the law doesn't say you can never discriminate over anything, but it says you cannot discriminate over specific things. And those specific things are, let me see, it's sex, that is male or female, not the action of sex like the Supreme Court has now made it. Race, color, religion, or national origin. And now it is behavior. See, behavior wasn't part of any of those things. It was race, color, religion, nationality, or national origin. This is devastating. Not only from the liability now that Christians have, not only because of that as businesses, the liability that we have and how many lawsuits that we are going to have to deal with. Not only are we going to be able to practice upholding our religion, our Christian values in the workplace, but the logic is far worse. Let's see. The majority goes on to use a hypothetical where an employer has 2 workers who are attracted to men, but one is a man and the other is a woman. So what they're saying in this hypothetical, to pull out for a second, is saying if there are 2 people that are attracted to men, but one's a man and one's a woman, stating that the firing of the man for being gay would be discriminating against him because of his sex, because he has the same preference as the female employee. The court similarly discussed a potential situation where 2 workers identified as female, but who one was identified as male at birth and the other female. This is the logic of a 2-year-old. This is a logic of a fool. I don't even want to insult 2-year-olds with this. They are drawing out of the law that says you cannot discriminate based on the gender of somebody, male or female, is the same as discriminating against somebody who is doing a lawless, immoral act of homosexuality. And I say lawless in the sense that it's against God's law. Who knows what is law and not law in our country anymore? And now this is the danger of this logic, okay, guys? Because this is clearly written to be about discriminating against male and female, that you cannot not hire somebody because specifically they're female or because they're a man, or you can't fire them because they're a female or a man. They're protected. You cannot discriminate against that. But now this is what this is saying, is because in this hypothetical situation, that if two people are attracted to females and one just happened to be a male and one is the other is a female, firing that female you're not really firing them because of the sexual act or the immoral act, but it's because they're a female. They can't help that. Now let's go back up and just to carry this logic to its logical conclusion. I just went off and I just couldn't do it. Just think about this. If discriminating against a man or a woman for their own sex is the same as discriminating against somebody of the same sex who is committing homosexual behaviors, where are you going to take that in the Middle East when people have a culture of raping people, when you have a culture of having sex with children, goats in Afghanistan? What about those people? Can we discriminate against their behaviors because of the national origin or religion? What about in the Middle East when they want to stone people? Can we discriminate against that part of religion? Where is the line? Where is the standard? And I just want to touch on this and then we'll stop. Man, I had to edit this whole part out. I had to edit a whole part out. I was just going nuts. One of the people, one of the judges, one of the tyrants noted that even though he ruled against this because the court is rewriting their own law under the guise of opinion, he says this: notwithstanding my concerns about the court's transgression of the Constitution's separation of powers, it is appropriate to acknowledge the important victory achieved today by gay and lesbian Americans. Millions of gay and lesbian Americans have worked hard for many decades to achieve equal treatment in fact and in law. They have exhibited extraordinary vision, tenacity, and grit, battling often steep odds in the legislative and judicial areas, not to mention their daily lives. They have advanced powerful policy arguments and can take pride in today's results. Even the justices that voted against this are still for the alphabet. They're for lawlessness. They're for immorality. They're happy that they won. They're happy. Where is your hope? It better not be in the Supreme Court. They're tyrants. They're lawless. They don't follow the law. They don't want to follow the law. Where is your hope? It better not be in the government. They don't want to follow the law. Because when you reject God, you have nothing left but death. In the institutions, in your own life, in your own wise rationale, you become a fool. You become worthless. And that's what we're seeing from the streets to the bench. From the streets to the bench. This shouldn't be disappointing to you. This shouldn't be discouraging because your hope should not be in the Supreme Court. Your hope should be in Christ alone. Only He will save us from this. Only He will save us from the streets to the bench. From the streets to the bench. Get on your knees and start praying. But don't be discouraged because remember, even in these times, God is moving and doing great things. He's doing great things. Our hope never should have been in the government. Our hope never should have been in the police. Our hope never should have been in Supreme Court justices. They're all thugs and tyrants because they reject Christ. They reject Christ. Now start thinking through what this means for your business, how you behave, how you act, as far as your Christian worldview applied throughout your life, because the battles are coming from this. They're coming. Be prepared. And let's go be successful. We'll talk to you tomorrow.